That Chandler knockout was rough.
The kick?
Got front kicked right into the jaw. There's a photo of Chandler's foot connected on Tony's face.
It's like a fucking Dolly painting.
It's wild.
Yeah.
It's wild to look at, like, what happens to someone's face when a foot impacts their jaw. I mean, that's a perfect kick. And look at Chandler's.
Would you agree that he's never fought anyone like you?
Yeah, I mean that's an understatement.
Oh, I just
with all due respect, my goodness, I have done nothing but train myself in violent hand-to-hand combat since I was 14 years old, and I fought the best of the best. Yeah, not even close.
When I beat Bobby Green before the fight, everyone was like, "Oh, Bobby's gonna knock him out. Paddy's not on that level." And then when I choked him unconscious, everyone was like, "Oh, Bobby's old. Bobby was never gonna win." You know what I mean? So it's gonna be the same. I know when I beat Michael Chandler, everyone would be like, "Oh, Chandler's old. He's only ever won 2 fights in the UFC. Paddy's not that good." So I'm used to it.
He's going to try to stay away from me, and I'm going to slowly and methodically and surgically walk him down until his heart rate gets so high that the lactic acid sets in. He starts second guessing himself. He's going to be on his back foot. His back is going to be close to the cage. And I'm going to land a right hand or a left hook and put his lights out within the first couple rounds.
Who says non-title fights are boring? Michael Chandler and Paddy Pimblett's clash at UFC 314 is making headlines in the MMA community at the moment. These two will compete in the co-main event of UFC 314 in Miami, Florida on the 12th of April. Joe Rogan has reacted to Michael Chandler's brutal kicking power. In 2022, Michael Chandler knocked out Tony Ferguson with an insane leg kick on his face at UFC 274. This brutal hit is still known as one of the craziest knockouts in UFC history. Joe Rogan spoke about that kick and praised the incredible power of Chandler.
That Chandler knockout was rough.
The kick?
Got front kicked right into the jaw. There's a photo of Chandler's foot connected on Tony's face.
It's like a fucking Dolly painting.
It's wild.
Yeah.
It's wild to look at, like, what happens to someone's face when a foot impacts their jaw. I mean, that's a perfect kick. And look at Chandler's quads. Imagine how much power's in that. Good Lord. Good Lord. Look at his body. He's just a ball of tense muscle just exploding on your face. Pause.
Michael Chandler is training in full flow to get ready for his clash against Paddy Pimblett. Chandler believes Paddy is a good fighter, but he has never fought with a competitive fighter like him. According to Chandler, he is surely the toughest challenge of Paddy Pimblett's career so far.
Would you agree that he's never fought anyone like you?
Yeah, I mean that's an understatement.
Oh, I just
with all due respect, and I don't like to overemphasize or overboast, but my goodness, I have done nothing but train myself in violent hand-to-hand combat since I was 14 years old, and I fought the best of the best, from former champions to guys who are absolute psychopaths like Justin Gaethje. Yeah, not even close.
Paddy Pimblett is also excited about this fight. He is confident to beat Michael Chandler, but Paddy is not worried about those who are doubting him. He believes haters won't be happy with his performance, even if he beats Chandler, so he is not bothered by the surrounding talks.
How excited are you? Just the idea, like, this is your chance now to just kind of show everybody, no, I'm the real deal.
Well, yeah, I already know I'm the real deal. It's just showing people, but at the same time, when I beat Michael Chandler, the goalpost will get moved again. Know what I mean? When I beat Bobby Green before the fight, everyone was like, "Oh, Bobby's gonna knock him out. Paddy's not on that level." And then when I choked him unconscious, everyone was like, "Oh, Bobby's old. Bobby was never gonna win." Know what I mean? So it's gonna be the same. I know when I beat Michael Chandler, everyone would be like, "Oh, Chandler's old. He's only ever won 2 fights in the UFC. Paddy's not that good." So I'm used to it.
Michael Chandler also acknowledged the skill set of Paddy Pimblett. He thinks Paddy is a good fighter and is evolving with each fight. However, Chandler thinks he is too much for him. He said Paddy hadn't fought with a guy like him before. According to Chandler, Paddy will feel the difference between the punches of him and other fighters.
Paddy's good. He's growing. I think the pressure I'm going to put on him, he's obviously going to keep that evading, throwing a lot of kicks, kind of throwing some wild punches, trying to keep things interesting in there, because he knows when one of these hands lands, it's going to be different than Jordan Levitt. It's going to be different than Bobby Green. It's going to be different than a lot of the guys that he has fought. But I'm up to the challenge. Prove me right, prove me wrong. Let's see what happens.
Michael Chandler has also spoken about his strengths and performance in UFC. Chandler is pretty confident about his bout with Paddy Pimblett. Chandler said Paddy won't be a difficult challenge for him, as he has fought against one of the best fighters in UFC. He feels beating Paddy would be like a walk in the park for him. Michael Chandler said, "You can talk about my record, my wins and losses. You can analyze my UFC career, but until now, I only fought former UFC champions and Hall of Famers. Every loss I had was against one of the great fighters. I will test his courage, championship mentality, cardio, and heart. Paddy will face the toughest challenge of his life." Chandler has respect for Paddy, and he thinks he deserves this fight. However, the lightweight fighter said there is a big difference between him and Pimblett. Chandler wants to show his experience and skills to everyone inside the cage. He knows there is a lot of competition in the lightweight division, and now he has to stay 2 steps ahead of everyone.
Paddy Pimblett deserves an opportunity, and I deserve an opportunity to go out there and show the difference between the guys I have been fighting and a guy who's outside the top 10, and I believe I'm going to go out there and starch him. Got nothing against him. Big, fan of him and his brand and how he does things. Great dude. But this is the right matchup at the right time, and it's a fun fight. It's a fight that the UFC world, the MMA fans are excited about. They're juiced about Paddy Pimblett fighting, and they're excited about him testing himself against a guy like me who's been through literal murderer's row of the UFC lightweight division. And as we sit here today, the UFC lightweight division was the most exciting division. Now it's even more exciting with the movement that's happening.
However, the lightweight fighter also warns Paddy to get ready for the toughest fight of his UFC career. He believes Paddy will realize I'm their bout, that he is not like all the other fighters he has faced before. Chandler has also expressed his wish to end the winning streak of Paddy at UFC 314.
I believe I'm going to put a pressure on him. I believe he will know right away within the first exchange he's not stepping into the octagon with Bobby Green, with Tony Ferguson. It's just a different level, and I still believe where I'm at, it's a bad matchup stylistically for him. That first time he gets hit by one of the toughest punchers in the UFC lightweight division, which he has not faced yet, it's going to be a different feeling. It's going to be a different speed. It's going to be a different ferocity that he hasn't felt before. But I do believe he's got some momentum right now, and the Paddy train stops in Miami.
Chandler explained the main questions that should be answered at UFC 314. He shared the main target that he would like to achieve in his fight against Pimblett.
Is Paddy Pimblett top 10, top 5 talent? Is he a future champion, or is he not? And for me, do I still have it? Do I still have the abilities to continue to trod my way toward a title?
Michael Chandler lost his previous fight against Charles Oliveira at UFC 309 in November 2024. He was feeling really bad after that loss, and he had no idea how he would be able to recover from that. Chandler admitted that he accepted this fight because he wanted to bring his career back on track and get that much-needed win.
What do you think about April? And I was like, well, recovery is going really well. I do not feel great about the last fight. I got a horrible taste in my mouth about it. Extremely let down, more let down than I've ever been. Let's go ahead. Let's do this thing in April. Let's put me in a position, because as you said, there is a ton of things going on. Lightweight, featherweight, welterweight, all kinds of different rumors, all kinds of different matchups, all kinds of different things. And I want to fight a guy ASAP to get in the win column, do something spectacular in Miami, UFC 314, to keep my name in the mix.
Chandler revealed that UFC offered him to fight Paddy, and he was not the one who asked for Paddy as his opponent. He now has no problem with this fight, as he knows you have to fight different opponents in the UFC.
And so to be clear, they offered you Paddy, you didn't ask for Paddy.
Yes, to be clear.
And did that excite you? Did you feel like, the reason I asked this question is because recently we've seen the talk from Dustin Poirier saying like, nah, I only have maybe 1 or 2 left. It's only top names, former contenders, champions, etc. He is not that. He is a top name, but he's not the other 2. Did the opportunity to fight someone like Paddy excite you?
It did. I mean, there's a big fight. No matter which way you look at it, man, it's a big fight, and it's the life cycle of the fighter. I will, tip my hat to Dustin Poirier. He fought Benoit Saint Denis when not very many people knew him, right? Justin Gaethje fought Rafael Fiziev.
Michael Chandler said this fight is a huge opportunity for both him and his opponent. Paddy can make his name from this fight, while Chandler can show why he is one of the best fighters in the lightweight division. Chandler has fought against one of the top fighters in the UFC, and he thinks whenever everyone starts to underestimate him, he fights out of his skin to shut everyone up. He is confident to do something similar at UFC 314 as well.
Here you go, boys and girls. Here's my opportunity. Here's his opportunity. This is Paddy's opportunity to get inside the top 10. This is my opportunity to show you that there are different levels to this sport. I have still, to this day, you can talk about my record, you can talk about losses, you can talk about how it's all went down, my run in the UFC thus far, but I have done nothing but fight first ballot Hall of Famers, former champions. Every single loss that I have has been to one of those guys. And when I don't fight one of those guys, knockout of Dan Hooker in 2.5 minutes, that brutal KO of Tony Ferguson, which was KO of the year. Something spectacular happens when my back is up against the wall or I'm fighting a guy that's not named Dustin Poirier, Justin Gaethje, or Charles Oliveira. So we'll see what happens on April 12th, UFC 314.
The MMA pros have also shared their valuable thoughts and predictions about this upcoming fight. The coach of Islam Makhachev, Javier Mendez, thinks if Paddy Pimblett beats Michael Chandler, he will get closer to a title shot. He said Paddy has the talent to beat Chandler and add his name among the top contenders to fight the champ Islam Makhachev for a title fight.
You know, if he can beat Michael Chandler, like you're saying, in impressive fashion, his name needs to be deserving, because again, it's all about eyeballs, and we all know Paddy the Baddy draws. People want to see him, so he has a big say in what's going to happen as he is successful in his next fight. So yes, I mean, you're giving me a lot of interesting scenarios here that I'm looking, wow. There's a lot of things that can be played in that lightweight division.
Dan Hooker thinks Paddy Pimblett versus Michael Chandler is a fight that will benefit everyone. Michael Chandler can get his form back from this fight and prove he still has the spark left in him. On the other hand, Paddy Pimblett is looking to get closer to the title shot, and this fight will make his path a lot easier.
Oh, that's a fight that makes sense. Michael Chandler's like a really big name, and it's Paddy's he's playing the game smart. He's trying to get to the title as quick as he possibly can. And I think he thinks that Michael Chandler will be an easy fight for him. But that's going to be a difficult fight. And then also exciting for Michael Chandler, because that gets him right back in the mix. Like, he beats Paddy Pimblett and he's back fighting guys in the top 10. So a win-win situation for the UFC.
The former UFC champion Dustin Poirier backs Chandler to beat Paddy Pimblett at UFC 314. Dustin thinks Chandler has more experience of fighting against stronger opponents, and Paddy lacks that skill. Dustin said Paddy is a good fighter, but he hasn't reached that level yet to beat a guy like Michael Chandler, who has been fighting against big names for a long time in UFC.
Your buddy Michael Chandler fighting Paddy Pimblett. Now, I know you tweeted, like, put all your money, hammer down on Michael Chandler. Is that just because you spend time with him and you just think he's a better fighter than Paddy? Like, why do you say, like, hammer down that money on Michael Chandler?
I don't know, for some reason I just have a feeling he's going to finish Paddy. And like you said, I enjoy watching him fight. Just our interactions haven't been the best. But I just think Paddy hasn't fought somebody like that in the UFC yet. The power, the grit, but also just the resume of Chandler. He's fought the best of the best for a long time, multiple-time world champion. It's just a huge step up for Paddy, I think, but we'll see.
And Michael Chandler has also shown his interest in fighting Dustin Poirier after beating Paddy Pimblett. In a recent interview with Zach Gelb, Chandler spoke about Dustin Poirier's latest comments about him, where he criticized Chandler for blowing blood all over him and sticking a finger in his mouth during an intense and brutal fight in 2022. Now, 3 years have passed, and Michael Chandler wants to run it back. Michael Chandler said, "I don't lose a wink of sleep thinking about Dustin Poirier and how he thinks about me. Unfortunately, obviously, I live rent-free in his head, and he does lose sleep over me, so I don't think about it." Dustin Poirier has recently revealed that he is going to retire very soon. He spoke about his next fight being his retirement bout. Chandler heard that news, and he wants that opportunity to be the last opponent of Dustin's career. Michael Chandler stated, "I'll tell you what, man, I would definitely welcome me being Dustin's retirement fight." Chandler wants to fight Poirier, but at the same time, he also respects Paddy for his achievements in UFC. He knows Poirier is one of the greatest fighters in UFC history, and this is what excites him more to fight Dustin. Chandler explained his call out. He's a legend, and I say that because he's a legend. It's not like I want to get back the loss, or it's not because I have any kind of animosity. I don't want to fight him because of the disagreements that we've had. I just want to fight him because he's a legend, and I would. Michael Chandler is confident that he will beat Paddy Pimblett at UFC 314, and after that he will fight Poirier at any time this summer, Chandler added. So we'll see. I'll heal up after April after I starch Paddy Pimblett, and he's talking about fighting in July and August. I wouldn't mind going to New Orleans at that time of year. Either way, I'm coming to fight. I'm going to be there for his retirement fight out of respect, but I wouldn't mind stepping in the octagon with him. We'll see. Meanwhile, the UFC legend Chael Sonnen was surprised to know that despite an unbeaten record in UFC, Paddy Pimblett has still not got a title shot. He admires Paddy for his remarkable performance and believes he deserves a title fight. Reacting to UFC 314, Sonnen said it is going to be a thrilling encounter because both fighters are desperate for a win. Chandler is coming from a defeat, while Paddy wants to get a title shot after beating Chandler.
Michael Chandler is coming off a loss and is going to take on a guy who in the history of his time in the promotion has never lost. It doesn't change the fact of the awkwardness. Paddy the Baddy has always used a little bit of personal animosity as a way of motivating himself, and that's just not a component here. You gotta understand, Paddy is for sure a top 10 draw in the sport. I'm not sure he's not top 5, but Paddy's never fought for title and Paddy's never main evented. To be a top 10 draw without having the power of the machine behind you, it's a big deal.
Chael Sonnen said Paddy mostly gets overlooked due to his looks. However, the UFC legend said Paddy shouldn't be underestimated as he is a powerful grown man and can take down anybody. Sonnen believes Paddy should be given a proper opportunity to become the champion.
I thought it was a gimmick. No, it's not a gimmick. And frankly, he's not a little kid with funny things to say and an interesting haircut. He's married with 2 kids. This is a grown man who, by the way, is undefeated in the UFC. Like, I have not seen anything from Paddy that would disqualify him from having the potential to be a world champion. I believe he is 2 fights away from fighting for the world championship, but fighting Michael Chandler off a loss. If there's ever a time to not have to face that son of a bitch, it's off a loss.
Luke Thomas said that UFC might Paddy for a title fight. The popular MMA analyst said Paddy has to beat Michael Chandler, and after that, he has to beat another top contender to get a title shot in the lightweight division.
Man, I tell you what, they're going to push him up that title contender queue fast. And I don't know exactly what they might do in the sense of, do they put him right into a title fight, or do they make him take like a quasi top 5, top 3 guy? I suspect that they probably would. So I think he's got at least, beating Chandler is relevant and important, but he'd probably have at least one more after that before getting a title shot.
Moreover, Tim Welch showed his excitement for this fight. He is looking forward to a thrilling encounter at UFC 314. Tim Welch also spoke about the skills and strengths of both fighters. Tim Welch backed Michael Chandler to be the winner of this bout, but he also admitted that Paddy Pimblett won't allow him to get past him easily.
Mike Chandler versus Paddy the Baddy Pimblett.
Oh!
That's
nice.
a banger of a fight.
That is. That's a fun fight.
3 rounds.
Oh,
I
that's
think.
fun. Really?
No. 5-round co-main event.
Ooh.
That
Nice.
changes the game. That changes the.
It changes the game.
Both of those guys wing punches from their armpits. Paddy floats his chin. Paddy's good at jiu-jitsu. Michael Chandler is an explosive beast of an athlete.
I never count. I never can pick against Chandler.
Dude, Paddy Pimblett has never faced anybody as explosive as Michael Chandler is going to be.
Joe Riggs also predicted a close encounter between Michael Chandler and Paddy Pimblett. Joe acknowledged Chandler for his power and skills, but the former MMA fighter also denied underestimating Paddy. According to Riggs, Pimblett is a very outstanding fighter and he can surprise everyone at UFC 314.
I've counted Paddy out too. But he's, again, a different animal.
And he's going in there with some serious confidence. This is a big fight.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to that. If
What's
I
that girl
if I had to pick right now, if someone gave me $10K to bet right now on the fight, 5-rounder.
Which one? With the Chandler fight? Who'd you?
I'd probably go Chandler.
Yeah. How could you not?
He's ready to scrap for that long. I mean,
he finds that chin too, man.
Damn, that's cool.
The popular YouTuber MMA Guru also shared his verdict for this fight. He thinks Paddy Pimblett has been doing great recently, and he has a higher chance to beat Michael Chandler. Further explaining his pick, MMA Guru said both are good fighters, and it will most probably be a close fight, but Paddy definitely has the upper hand.
Thoughts on Paddy versus Chandler? I think it's close. I do worry for Pimblett getting chinned by Chandler because it does seem like the type of thing that would happen, but I'm done betting on Chandler to chin someone. He ain't done it since Dan Hooker, so. And he front kicked Ferguson. I don't see him front kick KOing Pimblett, so. I don't know. Bro don't really do too much. I'm going to go with Pimbletton.
Well, this is all we have from today's video, and hopefully you have enjoyed it. We want to hear from you guys as well about your predictions for UFC 314. Who do you think will win between Michael Chandler and Paddy Pimblett? Share your predictions in the comments section, and make sure to subscribe to our channel for more interesting content. Don't forget to press the bell icon to get instant notifications about our latest videos.